Hey everybody, this is Colton with POSGuys.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Daytona all-in-one point-of-sale computer. Now this computer is the replacement to the TP6 line of all-in-one computers, and those were probably our most popular computer that we've sold over the last couple years. So I thought it was fitting that we take a look at the replacement, kind of compare and contrast the two, see what's the same, see what's different, take a look under the hood, and kind of give my overall thoughts on the unit. There are definitely some big changes under the hood, and on top of all those changes, the Daytona is coming in at a slightly more affordable price than the TP6. So I'm going to certainly keep that in mind, right, as I'm comparing and contrasting these two units and kind of giving my final take on that. So with that, I'm going to zoom you on in and let's get the tour started. All right, so we're zoomed in here now, and I'll start off with talking about some of the internal components and the specs that this unit is running, because it is one area where Custom America has definitely made some upgrades over the TP6. So starting off with the very basic information, you're going to have 3 processor options. When purchasing a unit, you're going to have a Celeron J3455, a Core i3 8145, and a Core i5 1020. So I'll throw those up on the screen so that I'm not overwhelming you with the numbers here, and you can kind of take a look and break it down for yourself. But using the i3 as sort of a middle ground option, that was probably our most popular configuration of the TP6, and I assume this as well. Kind of looking at a benchmark comparison, the old TP6's i3 was 2,628. And the Daytona is 4,099, so definitely a big step up there. Kind of comparing the processors on this unit to some other consumer-based all-in-one units, you're going to find that the i3 processors that they're running are definitely going to be a little bit on the lower end. I was looking at like a Dell Inspiron 24-inch. That starts at a little bit of a cheaper price than this. The i3 on that is like $1,250, right? And this is $3,455. So that kind of gives you some context, right, when you're talking about the processing speed on this. Given that it runs on Intel processors, you probably won't be surprised to find out that the Daytona is compatible with both Windows 10 IoT, Windows 11 as well. The Windows 11 is only available on the i3 and the i5, caveat there, and as well as Linux. And some models of this can also ship with no operating system. So if you have a license handy and you want to save some money, that is going to be an option for you as well. Looking at SSDs and RAM, the RAM on this unit is going to start at 8 gigabytes and can be upgraded all the way to 16 gigabytes on the Celeron and up to 32 gigabytes on the i3 and i5 models. Your SATA SSD starts at 128 or 256 gigabytes on an i5 model as well. And swapping out both of those is really easy. I'll throw some photos up as well because it's probably going to be a little easier than I'll be able to capture on camera. But I'll kind of pull this up as well. You'll see that right here, there you go, right there. Had a look at it there. That's where the SSD is, and it's as simple as unscrewing a knob and pulling that out. And then on the back here is where the RAM can be upgraded and whatnot. And that's pretty easy as well. Just pop off this side panel, pop it in, pop it out, and like I said, I'll throw a photo on. It's a little bit clearer at explaining what I'm looking at here. Flipping the screen around here, and I'm sorry if I catch a little bit of glare here. It's a little hard to record these screens. Position it like that. The screen itself is a 15-inch 4:3 aspect ratio capacitive touchscreen at 1024 by 768 resolution. And that's capacitive, of course. It's going to be at 350 nits. So it's essentially identical to the old TP6. I'll pull up the old unit right here so you can kind of take a look. And again, sorry about the glare. They look pretty darn identical, very, very similar bezels. So if you're using a TP6 and you're looking to move to this, the touch experience on the actual display is going to be very, very similar. So next, I wanted to take a moment here to talk about the different communication ports and the accessories that this unit has on board and can support. We'll start off with the accessories here. You're going to have a couple options on all 4 sides of this unit. So one on the top, left, right, and on the bottom here are USB-C ports. Those are data only. Those aren't powered. So that's something to note. But that allows the sort of proprietary peripherals that Custom America has developed to just easily attach on here. One of them I have is the MSR. It's a very simple, just 2 screws, you slap it in. One thing I will note about the MSR in particular is that it definitely feels a little unsecure, I guess. It's not terrible, but it wiggles just enough that I'd be worried if an employee was like repositioning the screen and hankering onto this, that it might eventually become a problem. The only reason I bring it up is because its predecessor, the TP6, the MSR on this is just super solid. There's no movement at all on that. And on this particular one, you know, maybe it's just the particular model I have, but it does wiggle quite a bit there. You might be able to see it. So that's one thing to note on the MSR. Otherwise, it performs pretty well. I was testing it out and seems to have a pretty good read rate. Never had any time where it wasn't doing its best. One thing that is really good to note, though, is that actually setting up the peripherals is way easier than it was on the TP6. The old TP6, you actually had to go all the way into the BIOS to set it up, since they had their own proprietary OI ports, or IO ports rather, on the back. This is super simplified. It's plug and play, really nice. So big perks to Custom America for improving that. The other accessory that you can have is a top display here. There's 2 different options on that. There's either a LCD screen, that's going to be 10 inches, as well as a 2-line display. And I'll throw a photo of the 2-line display right here because I don't actually have that. But I do actually have the screen as well. And that way that sets up is that there's just a couple little screws on the top here and a little USB-C port. And if I just reach over and grab that here, you can see how this would just easily slide into the top here. Oop, there we go. Slide into the top, plug it into 2 little latches there, and then you plug this in here. Then there's also a little, oh geez, flicking it around. And then there is also a little port there, so you just slap that on, and then there's a little casing that goes on top of it. And I'll throw some B-roll of that, and I'll also throw some B-roll on of the actual display in action, so you can kind of take a look at what you're dealing with there. And so that'll play that right now. Very beautiful. Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the next part here. So outside of this display, and I'll unplug this for now so I don't knock it off and break it, that would be very unfortunate, are going to be the ports that are on the bottom here. So I'll flip this back around so that you can take a look. And I'll also throw a little chart up as well on top because it's a little easier to see. It can definitely be tricky sometimes with the camera and pointing these all out. But basically, to give you the nitty-gritty, the Celeron model is going to have 2 RJ50 serial ports and 1 LAN port, while the i3 and the i5, respectively, are going to have 1 RJ50 and 2 LAN ports. Again, I won't bore you with the numbers. I'll kind of just throw it up on the screen so you can take a look there. And then the info will also be available on a blog post in the description below. While we're talking about communication options, I will note that there are some models that will come with Bluetooth 4 and Wi-Fi embedded into the unit, so that you don't have to use like an adapter dongle. And that's not the most common thing, especially the Wi-Fi isn't super common on some of these entry-level entry-level point-of-sale computers. This is definitely a commercial product, not consumer. And so, yeah, I wanted to note that. They aren't currently available right now to sell as of the time of me posting this video, though I had a conversation with the manufacturer. They told me that they're about 2 to 3 months out from having those available. So if you're watching this after September 2023, you're in luck. They're probably here and ready to go. So definitely give us a call just to double check, and we can help you get that sorted out. So with the specs and all of the functionality out of the way, let's talk about the overall appearance and ruggability of the unit itself, because that is definitely one area where these 2 units differ quite a bit. So I'm going to pop the predecessor, oh geez, the TP6 back here. I'm going to try to position this so that it's not glaring so bad. There you go. That's acceptable, I suppose. I'll flip it over here actually so the side camera here can get a good look. But in my opinion, and I'll actually flip this around, the biggest difference between these two units is really going to come down to this stand. The TP6 was really known for its very rugged stand. It kind of had a 2-point adjustable system here, so you can move it up and down, and then you could move it, tilt the viewing angle there, and that gave it a lot of flexibility for employees. The TP6, or sorry, the Daytona here rather, did away with the 2-part hinge system in lieu of just a single joint here. I think it's pretty good. As you can tell, it's definitely a taller unit than the TP6. And I'm a pretty tall guy, so I didn't find it too terrible to deal with. Though if you're someone who's a little bit shorter, you might have a little bit of trouble with it. But overall, I don't think it's a big knock on there. One thing that I will note is that the metal here, or this casing, is made out of very solid metal. And it's completely metal. There are some plastic components on this. Notably, there is a little, see, let's pull it out there. There we go. There is a little plastic covering here that sort of covers this. But otherwise, this is also pretty sturdy as well. So if that is something you are concerned about, there is the lack of the 2-joint system, but the actual build quality on this is pretty good as well. One thing I will note, if I can snap this back on, heck it, we'll leave it off for now. Keep the video going here, is the stability on the unit that's kind of caused by having a bit of a narrower base. The one good thing with the TP6 is that it was like unmovable. You can jostle this thing around and it wouldn't move quite as bit. The TP6 or the Daytona rather, on the other hand, doesn't have that same advantage. It definitely moves around quite a bit more. So if you're a big, if you're a really high volume, busy environment, if you're putting this in like a drive-through and your employees are tapping away on this, it'll definitely move around a little bit more. It will be noticeable if you, are heavy-fingered. So that is good to note. Kind of in this conversation with the stand, if you have an old TP6 and you want a little bit of a hack here, this is actually Visa 75 mountable, or rather there's a mounting port on the back here, just some little screws that you have to undo. So you could technically use this with any mounting stand that you want. Heck, you could even throw the old TP6 on, or if you want to wall mount it or something like that. Those are all options as well. And then other thing to note, one upgrade that I do like between the Daytona and the TP6 is the internal cable management. Before with the TP6, your kind of cables would be hanging out all over the place. With this, they've created a very nice way to kind of route the cables through this little hole here and out the bottom. And I'll throw some B-roll of that as well, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like when a unit is fully plugged in. And if you had a little hole in the bottom of your counter, you could easily just dip that straight through and have a very clean looking setup. So other quick things to note on this, especially when we're having a conversation about ruggedability. This unit does come with a 3-year manufacturer warranty for defects. So, if something was to go wrong in the first 3 years, you'd be covered there. IP rating is going to be an IP54 rating. I am not 100% certain what the TP6's IP rating is, so I'll throw that on the screen now so you can kind of compare back and forth. Sorry, don't have it off the top of my head, but we're on a roll here, so we're just going to run with it. But with that, that's going to wrap up this video. If you have any other questions or interested in picking up a unit for yourself, there is a link in the bottom of the description to the product page, as well as a blog post which goes into a little more detail about the product. If you want to learn more, feel free to give us a call, an email, or give us a message on our chatbot there, and we'll have a representative reach out to you and get you taken care of. All of that information is on the screen now. But with that, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.